Hey guys, welcome back to Real Housewives Recaps. Today, we're taking a look at the lies. That's right. Per request, I put together a super compilation of some of my favorite videos where I show the lies. I actually have receipts of how they lied and then them directly contradicting themselves. So I really enjoyed putting these together. I hope you enjoyed watching them. We look at big lies, little lies, a lot of lies in between. We even go into questions we would ask them if we were guaranteed to get the truth out of them, questions you guys had for them, questions I had for them, all the things. So I hope you enjoy this mega compilation of lies out of these two, because this is what keeps me riveted. They lie about everything, big, small, and again, everything in between, even very easily provable things they're still lying about, or as Samantha likes to say, they tell porky pies. So I'm here to call them out on it. You guys are too. You're wonderful. Honk honk, everybody. Thanks for being a part, and let's take a look at the lies. Yeah, lies, contradictions, and exaggerations. I've been wanting to do this video forever. There's just so many of them. It's actually hard to make this list. Again, it's daunting, but we're going to do this. We're going to dive right in. It's going to be in no particular order because, again, the sheer number of them. They're going to range from insignificant small things where details were changed to huge, provable lies that these two have told. So without further ado, here we go. The first one that just sticks in my mind is how often they changed the story of how they met, which, as you'll see, also ties into her story that she never Googled Harry or his family.
Yes, it was definitely a setup. It was a blind date.
It was a blind date,
And-
for sure. Meghan and I met over Instagram. I was scrolling through my feed.
Oh gosh, just that whole thing. It started like
With
dog ears.
the dog ears. And
That's what he saw of me. Who is it? And she said, it's Prince Has. And I said, who's that? I asked if I could see his feed. So that's the thing. When people say, did you Google him? No. But that's your homework. You're like, let me see what they're about in their feed.
I've never looked up my husband online. I just didn't feel a need to because everything that I needed to know he was sharing with me, right?
So this always bothered me too. They claim to have met on a blind date, but now it's changed more recently to Instagram. In 2017, Harry told the BBC it was definitely a setup. It was a blind date. It was a blind date for sure. This is a direct quote. But again, in the first episode of the Netflix series, Harry claimed, Meghan and I met over Instagram. Since we're here talking about it anyway, what about the ludicrous claims that she never Googled Prince Harry and didn't know anything about the royal family?
Exactly. Meghan Markle, Daisy, the wife of Prince Harry, she's been found out again, not quite telling the truth, to put it mildly. She's often claimed that she never knew much about the royal family at all before meeting Harry.
Didn't know a lot about him. Everything that I've learned about him, I learned through him, as opposed to having grown up around different news stories or tabloids or whatever else. Anything I learned about him and his family was what he would share with me.
But Daisy, an old blog post by Meghan Markle has now been uncovered, which paints a very different picture. Tell us about it.
Oh, yes, dear Meghan, caught short again, I'm afraid. You know, as she's mentioned, she's been saying for ages she didn't know much about the royals. She never researched Harry. That's complete rubbish. There's a photo of her outside Buckingham Palace when she was 15. Her childhood friend said she was obsessed with the royals. Her former best friend said she had one of Princess Diana's books on her shelves. You read Tom Bower's book about how she meticulously researched Harry. She knew about the royals. And in more evidence, a blog post has resurfaced from 2014 that discusses the wedding of Prince William and Catherine Middleton. And she claims in the post that little girls dream of being princesses and that she, for one, was all about Princess Shira, who's like a rebel princess, like a feminist princess, go figure. And then we see she's actually got quite strong opinions, Andrew, about the monarchy, where she says, grown women seem to retain this childhood fantasy. Just look at the pomp and circumstance surrounding the royal wedding and endless conversation about Princess Kate. That little sort of negative comment, I think, is quite revealing, Andrew, that she was going into the family not knowing nothing. That is for sure.
Okay, let's get into those conversations about skin color. Oof. All right, so if you go back and watch the Oprah interview, something interesting happened, especially watching it now, hindsight 2020. So much going on. But at the time, Meghan says, and I'll play the clip, that there were questions about how dark Archie's skin would be and implied that it continued throughout her pregnancy. But the same interview, when Harry was asked, he implied that it was one conversation that actually happened when they were still dating. So stories not matching up. And to take it a step further, Tom Bauer brings it up in his book Revenge, and he says that he actually said it wasn't so much to do with skin, more, I wonder what color hair Archie will have. Will it be red like his father's?
Months when I was pregnant, all around this same time. So we have in tandem the conversation of he won't be given security, he's not going to be given a title, and also concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
What?
And
Who is having that conversation with you? What?
so,
There is a conversation. Hold up.
there's
Stop
several
right now.
there's several conversations.
There's a
about it.
conversation with you
with Harry.
about how dark your baby is going to be?
Okay, you heard it there. She said throughout the pregnancy, this happened several times. Conversations about how dark her baby would be, knowing that it would set Oprah off and be very clickbaity, etc. Revenge, right? Listen to how Harry describes it. Completely different. One time at the beginning of the relationship, before they were even engaged. This is the exact same interview.
What is particularly striking is what Meghan shared with us earlier, is that no one wants to admit that there's anything about race or that race has played a role in the trolling and the vitriol. And yet, Meghan shared with us that there was a conversation with you about Archie's skin tone. Mm-hmm. What was that conversation?
That conversation I'm never going to share. But at the time it was awkward. I was a bit shocked.
Can you tell us what the question was?
No, I'm not comfortable sharing that.
Okay.
But that was right at the beginning, right?
Like, what will the baby look like?
Yeah, what will the kids look like?
Yeah, what will the kids look like?
But that was right at the beginning.
Since we're here talking about it anyway, we just came on the heels. We just saw where Meghan was saying that there were many conversations throughout her pregnancy about the baby's skin color and talks of he won't receive a title and referring it back to skin color, that sort of thing. Let's call a spade a spade. She's calling them out for racism. She's saying they are a racist family and they were denying, future baby Archie these things because of what shade of color his skin might be. But then turns around when they get the backlash saying, no, this isn't true. You're calling them racist. You're spreading these lies. Then Harry goes on in an interview and says this.
In the Oprah interview, you accuse members of your family of racism. You don't even...
No, we didn't.
Well,
The British press said that.
Right.
Did Meghan ever mention that they were racist?
She said there were troubling comments about
Yeah,
Archie's
there was
skin
concern
color.
about his skin colour.
Right. Wouldn't you describe that as essentially racist?
I wouldn't.
Since we're on the subject of Archie, let's keep going there. In the same breath that she just told Oprah the conversations of his skin color and all that she was just saying there, she was saying that he will not be given a title. He was denied a title. Let's take a listen.
Months when I was pregnant, all around this same time. So we have in tandem the conversation of he won't be given security, he's not going to be given a title, and also concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
So you heard it there. In the same sentence, she is saying conversations about his skin color, he will not be given a title.
We need to talk about why Archie wasn't given a title. Despite being 7th in line for the throne, Archie wasn't born Prince Archie, and that's because of the letters patent issued by King George V in 1917. It decreed that only children and male line grandchildren of the reigning monarch, plus the eldest son of the Prince Wales, typically the heir apparent, would be called princes and princesses. However, Queen Elizabeth II did issue a slight update to this proclamation in 2012 that expanded the last part of George V's decree to include all children of the Prince of Wales' oldest son, meaning Princess Charlotte, Prince Louis, they can be called princes and princesses. Once Prince Charles takes the throne, however, Archie and his little sister would be granted the title of prince and princess, since they'll be male line grandchildren of the sovereign.
Hey, look at that. It was set up in 1917 and had nothing to do with skin color whatsoever, despite what Meghan went on Oprah and claimed. And to further complicate things, they seem to have forgotten that they rejected titles for their children. It was not long after they were born when Harry reportedly said they were fine with him being title-free and that his children should be raised without titles. Ooh, I wonder if he checked with Meghan before saying that. So the next issue that I want to bring up is the therapy debate. Harry has talked about receiving it, but then that it wasn't something available. That even when Meghan was going through her darkest times, according to them, and having those dark thoughts, it was not available to her. And yet, in the book Spare, he talks about after his physical fight with William, the first person he called was his therapist. So it was available to him, but not to her. But take a listen to him even contradicting himself on whether or not therapy was something that he sought.
Therapy that's a long time. I wasn't in an environment where it was encouraged to talk about it either. That was sort of like squashed. Back. And when you start thinking like that, it can be really damaging. And you always said to me, you've got to sit down and think about those memories. Funny enough, from the support around and my brother and other people saying that you need to deal with this.
So when talking to Oprah, he's saying he was not encouraged to seek therapy. But then in other interviews, you could clearly see that he was saying his family encouraged him to explore therapy and to get help. But then again in Spare, he goes into that Meghan was not encouraged the same, and for some reason, even though he admits to seeing a therapist, he couldn't figure out how to arrange the same thing for his wife. Okay, the next discrepancy, lie, I'd like to discuss is the claim that they got married 3 days before their actual wedding, the televised wedding. Remember, she made this claim on Oprah that the Archbishop of Canterbury married them 3 days before.
Got married. No one knows that, but we called the Archbishop and we just said, look, this thing, this spectacle is for the world, but we want our union between us. So like the vows that we have framed in our room are just the two of us in our backyard with the Archbishop of Canterbury, and that was the piece that... Just the three of us.
Meghan and Harry's secret wedding that took place 3 days before the real one apparently didn't happen. At an attempt in proving that Meghan doesn't care about the spotlight and lavish aspects of being a royal, she told Oprah that the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, had pronounced them man and wife before they exchanged vows in front of millions at their televised royal wedding. She said, 3 days before our wedding, we got married. No one knows that. We called the Archbishop and we said, look, this spectacle is for the world, but we want our union between us. Turns out that a lot of holes appeared in the secret wedding claim. Mark Edwards, who is a vicar at the church, said that a source at Lambeth Palace denies the secret wedding. The source told him, Justin had a private conversation with the couple in the garden about the wedding, but I can assure you no wedding took place until the televised national event. He also added that he was told by a Lambeth Palace staff member that Justin does not do private weddings, and concluded as, Meghan is an American, she does not understand. I highly doubt that a vicar would come out to the public and say all of this if it wasn't true. He didn't even remain anonymous. Others have also pointed out that at least 2 witnesses are required for the ceremony to be deemed valid and legal. Meghan stated that it was only her, Harry, and the Archbishop who were present.
So many lies, so little time. Let's jump into a speed round. I've compiled some of my favorite just quick contradicting themselves and lies and nonsense that they're spewing. Get ready for this.
I really wanted to relearn French. I had studied it for the 4 years in high school, and then it just went away. I studied French for 8 years, and now it's deplorable. I can't remember anything, which...
You can't ever wear the same color as Her Majesty if there's a group event. But then you also shouldn't be wearing the same color as one of the other more senior members of the family. So I was like, well, what's a color that they'll probably never wear? Camel, beige, white. So I wore a lot of muted tones.
In here, there's a piece of, did you see it? The piece of blue fabric that's stitched inside.
No.
It was my something blue. It's fabric from my...
I hope it's still in there.
Yes,
we'll have to look at that.
It's fabric from the dress that I wore on our first date.
Oh, that's about the most romantic thing.
She was wearing a black sweater, jeans, heels. I knew nothing about clothes.
Changed her last name back to Markle in, I think she was in her early 50s at that time, only when I started dating Harry. So I think that says enough.
Document proof of when she changed her name.
Markle's always been my name.
Samantha said, I was a Markle before she was, so I thought that was kind of weird that she would say, I only changed my name back when she met Harry. Markle has always been my name. She then provided an official document stating a petition for a name change, which was dated in December 1997. Her college diploma also shows her name as Samantha M. Markle.
She's an actress. Oh. She's American. Oh. On a show called Suits. Their mouths fell open. They turned to each other. Then Willie turned to me and said, "Fuck off." What? No way. Sorry? Impossible. I was baffled, until Willie and Kate explained that they were regular, nay, religious viewers of Suits. Great, I thought, laughing. I'd been worrying about the wrong thing. All this time I'd thought Willie and Kate might not welcome Meghan to the family, but now I had to worry about them hounding her for an autograph.
Interesting. William and Catherine were huge fans of Suits, according to Harry. You can hear me almost laughing when I say that. Thankfully, a lot of my wonderful listeners in the UK told me that's not possible. It wasn't shown until much later over there. But what's one more lie when you told 1,000, right? And I just feel like I need to set the tone for this video. I did some quick ones at the end of the last video. I want to start this one with just some quick, I don't know what you even call them, just quick fire lies from these two. Here we go.
Lies of Meghan Markle. That is the subject of today's talking points. Meghan Markle lies regularly, more than most people, about a lot. Yes, you can go back to the Oprah interview for many examples. She and Harry secretly married 3 days before their actual wedding. No. Her baby wasn't going to be a prince because of his race. No. She had her passport taken away by the palace. False. Palace HR dismissed her suicidal pleas for help. On and on and on it goes. Remember how she swore she had absolutely no contact with the writers of that fawning book, Finding Freedom, about Megxit? Compare those statements with her statements to the British courts, where she was forced to admit to the judge that, whoops, she forgot she 100% was in contact with the authors of Finding Freedom, a fact obvious to anyone who read that boot-looking embarrassment of a publication. She lies so often she's had to hire a new publicity team now to help work on her image and a fact checker for her Spotify podcast, which is rather amusing when you consider the falsehoods broadcast there so far have all been about her. What's the fact checker going to do? I'm sorry, madam. It's appeared that you've lied about yourself again. Best of luck to the fact checker working for the Duchess of Duplicity.
Do you see what I mean? It's so good. It's so good to just get those quick fire ones because they lie so often. It would take 10 hours to break each one of these down. But I just wanted to start off on that note because that is one of my favorite TikToks to have come out, well, about these two. Okay, let's get into her dad. I had lots of requests to talk about this. So I want to go into the hypocrisy of how she's handled or not handled this situation. We're going to listen to her own words on an interview here, and we're going to go into a discussion about it because I have a lot to say. Here we go.
She won't speak to her father or any of her father's side of the family because of press. But, well...
Father were close most of your life.
Yeah. I mean, family. So it's never easy, never perfect. Of course, I talk to my dad several times a week and,
So when did things start to go awry there?
When the media got involved after the wedding. My dad started doing these interviews, mostly saying things about me.
Meghan Markle's dad, right?
Thomas Markle yesterday, and he was really upset at this.
Does not stop, apparently.
It was incredibly painful.
Okay, you heard it from her mouth. She said there, when the media got involved, when my dad started doing these stories, it was incredibly painful. But let's take a step back. What is she doing here? Well, one, she's telling a story about her father to the media who is recording her. But more than that, she and Harry have done nothing but sell out his family since before they even left. So she's not speaking to her dad under the guise of, well, he talked to the press. But they have nonstop talked to the press. Sounds like this whole time.
And the world is watching this drama play out.
So again, she says this while talking to the media in an interview about how the royal family supposedly wronged her, letting all the drama play out.
And then he started criticizing the royal family.
Oh yeah, couldn't have that, because what would you and Hazmat have to talk about?
But it was very embarrassing for the family.
And as we know, Harry and Meghan would never want to do anything to embarrass the royal family. Harry's mom's face cream, anyone?
It was a problem that needed to be solved.
I'm pretty sure that's the same thing that the Queen and Charles and William and Catherine would all have to say about Harold and fraud. I'm going to stop it there, but I wanted you to see the hypocrisy in her own words, saying that her father went to the media and that is what caused the deterioration of the relationship. And yet here she is talking to the media about it and taking every ounce of dirty laundry they could possibly, including Harold in this, Harold and fraud, including every ounce of dirty laundry they could possibly ever find, write it down in the book Spare, give a million interviews, and want an apology from the royal family. Do you see why none of this makes any sense? They're contradicting themselves and continuing the lies. And I am calling it a lie because it's a convenient story to paint herself as the victim here while showing that her words are not matching her actions. Continuing on the family theme, somebody in the comments had asked that I go into the Meghan's niece of it all. Remember Ashley? Ashley is estranged from her mother, Samantha Markle. And we saw from her in that horrible Netflix documentary. Oh, I'm still mad that I wasted however many hours of my life on that thing. So the claim was, according to Meghan, that she was told by Palace not to invite her niece to her wedding. And, quote, that's painful. So people goes into how in the documentary that was Meghan's thing. She said that she was advised not to invite Ashley because of the messiness with her half-sister. Well, to quote Samantha, that is another porky pie. That's another lie that's come out. And there have been royal officials that have come out and said, no, we told you to invite people. Let's take a listen.
Meghan tells viewers the guidance at the time was to not have her come to our wedding. She claims it was because their communications team could not get their head around how to explain Ashley's presence without Samantha. Now, royal sources have let it be known that this is definitely not their recollection of events. They told the Mail on Sunday that it was completely in Meghan's gift as to which members of her friends and family to invite, while another told the Sunday Times that just didn't happen.
The introduction of Ashley in the first three parts is one of the most peculiar aspects of it, really, because she seemed to be there to illustrate how Meghan did have good relations with at least one member of her extended family. But then it begged the question, why wasn't Ashley at the royal wedding? And so Meghan then came up with this explanation that she'd been advised strongly by the palace that she shouldn't invite Ashley.
So there it is. It's so much easier for her to lie about it and claim that the palace didn't want Ashley there instead of telling the actual truth that Meghan didn't want Ashley there. I just don't know how, as a grown woman, Ashley bought this line. All I can guess is maybe she was, I don't know, desperate for Meghan's affection. I'm not really sure. It doesn't really make sense to me, but further goes to show that Meghan will always choose the lie that makes her look like a victim rather than, what actually occurred. Okay, next let's go into Meghan's absurd claim that she never received any royal training. She just had to figure it out on her own and even had to Google the national anthem and that whole curtsy debacle.
So I needed to learn a lot, including the national anthem.
How did you learn it?
Oh, I Googled it. There's no class and some person who goes sit like this, cross your legs like this, use this fork, don't do this, curtsy then, wear this kind of hat. Doesn't happen.
Now royal insiders have let it be known that they fiercely dispute this version of events. What the Sunday Times called a well-placed source said these claims are not true. They added, there was prep for everything, walkabouts, even though she was engaged to someone who'd done hundreds of them, clothes, everything. The level of support was intense.
Ed Lane Fox, who was Harry's private secretary, made such an effort to prepare Meghan. He prepared apparently a 30-point dossier with all the various aspects that she should know about, from constitution to the royal family to fashion, clothes, what she should be expected to wear. And with each chapter, there was contact details for someone who could advise her, who she could meet to talk things through. And apparently Meghan did meet a couple of these people. She met Sir Christopher Gite, who was able to give her some advice on protocol and that type of thing. And she also met someone who was an expert in the fashion world, who was able to give her tips on what, royals wear or shouldn't wear. So it really was one of the strangest aspects of these first 3 episodes.
So there you go. She's saying that nobody was there to help her. Nobody showed her what to do or told her what to do. And yet we have many accounts of people going into extreme detail of all the ways they did help her. I'm working through the book Courtiers now that goes into all the people that helped her behind the scenes and how they were making plans for everything. So she had tons of help, including Samantha Cohen, who is the Queen's personal advisor that was sent over specifically to help Harry and Meghan adjust and help Meghan adjust to life as a royal. So in the last one, I did go into the discussion of accusing the royal family of being racist, discussing Archie's skin color, that sort of thing. This one, somebody had asked me to go into her changing her experience on her own race and what she's, like I say, what she's experienced with that. Just take a listen.
And so some of the slurs that I've heard, the really offensive jokes or the names, it's just hit me in a really strong way. And then, a couple years ago, I heard someone call my mom the N-word. So I think for me, beyond being personally affected by racism, just to see the landscape of what our country is like right now, certainly the world, and to want things to be.
I've never in my life heard someone say the N-word. Very different to be a minority but not be treated as a minority right off the bat. Obviously now people are very aware of my race because they made it such an issue when I went to the UK, but...
So which one is it, Maggie Poo? Can't keep your story straight? Was it that you grew up around it, hearing your mom called awful names, or is it that you didn't hear it till you went to the UK because your story seemed to change in both of those clips? So another popular request I had was to take a look at the claim that Beyonce texted her when they happened to have Netflix there filming them for their documentary.
Beyonce just texted. Really meant.
Shut up.
Just checking in.
Just checking in, just casual.
I still can't believe she knows who I am.
Go and call her.
No, it's okay. She said she just wants me to feel safe and protected She admires and respects my bravery and vulnerability, and she thinks I was selected to break generational curses that need to be healed.
That's well said.
Okay, you saw that too, right? It looked like the dog didn't believe her either. Well, as a surprise to absolutely no one, Beyonce's team doesn't recall the text Meghan read from the Star. So Neil Sean, a royal expert correspondent, whatever you want to call him, reached out to Beyonce's team, and again, as a huge shock, they say that they had no recollection of the artist sending that text to Meghan. Let's play devil's advocate for a second and say she did send the text. Did she want it read aloud or used to garner whatever sympathy Meghan was looking for on the Netflix documentary? Probably not. I would just chalk it up to who had more motivation to not tell the truth in this one. Meghan, look at that. All right, let's look at some quick fire lies that are as stupid as this dress is. But yeah, let's take a look. You'll see a bunch of them in a row. Here we go.
Grew up as an only child, and I wished I had siblings. Last time I saw her must have been at least 18, 19 years ago. Changed her last name back to Markle only when I started dating Harry.
Harry and Meghan, the dreariest couple in the history of planet Earth, famously abandoned their royal duties for a life of privacy. They left the goldfish bowl of Great Britain for the camouflage of California, remember? Famously sheltered from the evil British press. And since then, they've kept an incredibly low profile, as they vowed to. If you excuse the massive book deals, the Silicon Valley startups, the preaching videos about well-being, the podcasts, the speeches, and the major network interviews with everyone from Oprah Winfrey to James Corden. But they've barely been seen or heard at all, have they?
The trailer for their Netflix special,
Yes.
There's that shot of all the paparazzi, right?
Yeah.
You remember
Yeah.
there's that amazing
Yeah.
photo of like 100 camera lenses. There it is.
Yeah.
That's from a Harry Potter premiere.
What? As in, that's not from...
No,
hang on, that's in their doco?
Yeah, that's
in their doco,
the
as
trailer
if
for
they
their
were all
doco.
taking photos of them.
That's at the Harry Potter premiere that neither of them were at.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, it's enough to make your head spin. So this isn't even scratching the surface of the lies. I just basically wanted to sit down and have a conversation with you all about what's been on my mind. And if you're on Patreon, you know, I already talked to you guys ahead of time about this. So I wanted to bring it to the main channel because it's just something I've been thinking about. And the thing I've been thinking about, Harry and Meghan, but if I had the opportunity to ask them questions, like that popped into my head, what would I ask them? Now, knowing that you'd never get a truthful answer about any of it, but let's forget about that for a split second. What questions would I ask them? What questions would you ask them? So I thought, I just put pen to paper and started making a list, and I came up with a bunch. I'm sure there's a bunch I left out. And I just thought it would open up conversations about some of their past behavior. And I thought, well, it might also lead to what are your questions that you would ask them? I understand that most of us are on the same page and would tell them just to F right off. I wouldn't ask them anything. But there truly are things that I would love to know. So I came up with this list. I thought it'd be fun to go through and talk about with you guys. So let's take a look at my list. So in no particular order, and again, realizing that this is a daunting task and there's going to be a million questions that I think of later that I'm like, oh, why didn't I add that? But let's jump into this list. Since it's hypothetical world and I get to ask them questions, I'm also forcing them to answer them truthfully. I know you can never get the truth out of these two, and we'll get into that, but that's my hypothetical. It's my birthday. I'm pulling that card. So it's my rules to the game. And my rules are they have to answer truthfully. Okay, here we go. The first question I literally wrote down, and I'm not even trying to be sarcastic. I literally wrote down, what the F is wrong with both of you? That's my question. What the F is wrong with both of you? Now, I realize they would spin that and talk about their perceived wrongs and, you know, all that bullshit. But I just want to know, what's your problem? Okay, so then I go into the question, why did you lie about getting married 3 days before? It's since been proven that it's a lie. The Archbishop spoke out and said it was a lie. So what was the point of the lie? Now, I do not give Harry a free pass at all. I include him in all of these because he didn't admit that it was a lie, so that makes him complicit. But I do believe it was her lying and he just went along with it. But I'm asking why? Why lie? What was the deal there and why did he go along with it? I guess he wasn't going to stop the interview and be like, what are you talking about? That's illegal here. We don't do that, you know. But no, what is that lie about? I'd like to know about that. That occupies a big space in my brain. Okay, my next question. Why did you name the kids Archie and Lilibet? So I could guess on Lilibet it was for attention, to show some sort of, I don't know, let me cut through the BS. I really think it was a kiss-ass move on their part to try to kiss ass for the queen. Too little, too late, but it's just a feeling I had. And also, in Meghan's mind, I feel like she likes to jab at people, so it's her jab at the queen because it's not, I don't believe they did it with good intentions. Now, Archie is such a strange story. If you haven't heard, allegedly, Archie is the name that security had for little Prince George. So, as you know, when you're protecting I don't have to explain it to you. Basically, they give them code names, and for whatever reason, little George's code name was Archie. So why did they name their child Archie? Is it truly that they love that name so much? Doubt it. Is it to cause havoc? Probably. Is it a weird jab at William and Catherine? Maybe. Are they weaponizing their kids' names? Yeah, I believe that. I would like to know the story there. What's the deal? What's the deal? I sound like Seinfeld. What's the deal with naming him Archie? Okay, the next one. What were you hoping to achieve with the car chase? Was it truly to get us to feel sorry for you? Did you really think that you could fool people in New York? Did neither of you think out this story that that it could possibly go more than just a few miles per hour again in New York? It just doesn't. What are you hoping to accomplish? What were you hoping would happen? My next question is, where are your children? I think about that a lot, and I really don't, you know, I talk about them as shitty people and stuff. I don't go into the kids because I don't think it's right. I know that's a move that the Sugars do. They often go after the Wales children. It's disgusting, right? I've seen it on TikTok. It's gross. I'm not specifically going after the kids. I'm just asking the parents, what's your deal with these kids? Is it to keep people talking about it? Why, use everything to make money. So I'm surprised they're not using the kids. I'm surprised they're not releasing photos. And as I mentioned again in the Patreon video, if you're rewatching, I said, I actually understand your need to protect kids and privacy. So if it's legit that, I actually respect that. I don't believe anything they say, ever. They don't do anything without an ulterior motive. So what's the deal with the kids? I don't understand it. That's my question on that. My next question, we'd never get a straight answer, but my question literally was, why do you lie so much? I think about that a lot too. It's easily verifiable things that they lie about, and I don't understand why it's so much and so often. And we'll go into some specific lies in a little bit with some of my questions, but why lie so much? And when you get caught in your lies, why not? Why don't you ever cop to anything? Why can you do no wrong? That's a big question I have. Okay, my next question. Why do they expect everyone to believe everything they say with no proof? I know it has worked for them in the past. People did believe them for a while. I think the Sugars still believe them, but I just wonder, with everything, why do you say these things, offer up no proof, just expect that people will believe you? Do you guys who I'm talking to now believe that it's because she's a narcissist, that they're both narcissistic, and that they just think that everybody will believe them? Is that what it is? What's going on there? Inflated sense of self? I don't know. Okay, my next question. Where's your gratitude? For absolutely any of it, where's your gratitude? Are you grateful for any of it? For your time with the royal family? For any of the perks you got? For your relationships? Where's your gratitude for any of it? Where are your thank yous? Where are your anything? Where's your gratitude? My next question is, where was Doria? Now, we've all heard the same stories. We were teased by Tom Bauer that we'd get that story. We did not. Allegedly, we've heard about possible jail stuff. But I want to know, where was Doria? And why is that not talked about? It's so weird. Okay, my next question. I think this one's mostly to Harry. Honestly, it's to both of them, but mostly to Harry. How do you live with yourself? How do you justify your actions toward the Queen? I guess that is to both of them. How do you justify that? How are you okay? How do you reconcile what you did to this, this treasure, this wonderful woman who lived a life of service for over 90 years? Just think about that. How do you justify that? How do you live with, making these false accusations against her and making her last few years horrible? I just don't, I'll never forgive it. I'll never understand it. I don't even think there's an answer they could give. But how do you live with yourself? That's the question that I have. My next question is, how are you able to crouch like that while you're that pregnant? That haunts me too. Regardless if you think she was pregnant, not pregnant, moon belly, whatever it is. How do you do that? I've had so many of you in the comments tell me, oh, I was, very athletic. I was a yogi. I was this, that, the other. I couldn't do that. And I would say same. Like, I have told this story a million times. I remember crying when I was very pregnant because, well, everything made me emotional, but also I couldn't put on my socks. Like, it was hard. Don't judge. I had really long legs, but it's hard. It was hard to bend and move and get the belly out of the way and stuff. To do basic tasks like that were hard. So I don't understand how you squat in heels when you're supposedly, allegedly very, very pregnant like that. I don't understand it. Okay. My next question to Harry was she worth it? And I'll actually change that a little bit and say to both of them, was it worth it? But let's go back to the original question. Was she worth it, Harry? Disowning or abandoning or being horrible to your whole family, treating them the way you have, and watching all your relationships deteriorate, whether it's with your family, your friends, everybody. Was it worth it? Was she worth it? My next question is, why do you think you have any credibility, both of you, at all anymore? Again, now talking to you guys, do you think that it's the narcissism? They just think her especially thinks she's the smartest in the room, can outsmart everybody, and just thinks us little pea brains, us little whatever, feeble-minded will just believe her? Believe them? Why do they think they have any credibility left? All right, my next question. What about leaving the UK? Would you still say that was a good idea? What about your patronage? The patronages, Harry especially. What about those? You still feel okay about leaving those? Do you feel like you made the right decision? I know the bullshit answer they'd give is, oh, we love California. But truthfully, I would like to know the truth on that. Was it a good idea? Would you do it again? My next question. What's up with your privacy excuse? How can you claim to want privacy and get mad at the family? Do you remember we'll go into that, I have a separate question, but Harry got mad at his family for allegedly calling the paps or whatever, I don't know, working with the press. And they scream about privacy, but yet they're not willing to give it in return. And again, I'll go further into this in a separate question. Okay, my next question. What happened to your supposed dream of living and working in Africa? I believe it was Harry that said it. I think it was in his book, Spare. He talked about that was his dream. And he had said it before in the press that he pretends to hate. And they even pretended like they didn't want the wedding. It was forced upon them. I sound like a whiny Dracula. But they acted like that they would have been happy to run off and get married in Africa. My next question would be, what's the deal with Archewell? Is that just a money-making scheme? Is that all that is? Did you ever plan to do good with it, or is it all about tax breaks? I suspect I know the answer to that. Okay, my next question is, if you hate the family so much, and you hate Britain so much, or the UK, you hate all of it so much, and in Harry's words, I had to escape, I had to protect my family, all that bullshit. Why do you still use the titles? I know the answer to that too. I know it's for the clout, but I'm asking, why do you still use the titles then? What's the real reason? My next question is, why are you so hateful toward the Markles? I would say especially Thomas. Why so hateful toward Meghan's dad? What exactly did he do? I don't believe for a second, and again, I went into this on Patreon. I'll go on to here. I apologize if you've already heard it, but I don't believe for a second that the dad did what they accused him of with the paparazzi. But let's say he did. Let's just play devil's advocate. Don't get mad. Let's just pretend for a second that he did. That he staged the whole thing, made $100,000. It sounds like that maybe, potentially, allegedly what happened. Okay. So what? At this point, so what? You guys have sold everything to make money. You do everything for photography purposes, for publicity, for the stunt of it all. If you don't believe me, think about what just went down in New York. So what that he did that? So what? Why did you abandon him? Again, I suspect I know the answer to that one as well. It might be a rhetorical question. I suspect by including him in your life, Meghan's afraid that he would fill in a lot of details that she's lying about. Just a hunch. Okay. My next question. Do you actually believe the shit you tell us? Or the shit you sell us? I wrote down both. I really want to know. Do you guys do you talk to each other about the lies? Or do you just lie to each other as well? Like, are they the couple that just go to bed pretending? Do they tell each other, hey, can you believe we got away with it? Or do you think that they believe their own lies? Or do you think they just don't have that kind of relationship where they talk about things? Okay, my next question. What do you miss most about your old life? I guess that's mostly to Harold. What do you miss about your old life? Do you actually miss your family? Do you miss William? Do you miss talking to him and having a close relationship? Do you miss your dad? That's the question I would ask there. My next one is, how are you going to demand respect/privacy and then write a tell-all book about your family? I'm looking at you, Harold of Harold and Fraud. I know, I always get a million comments. His birth name is not Harold. I know, it's a joke. I know you guys know that, but I always have one. It's so funny. Okay. How are you going to demand respect/privacy and then write a tell-all book about your family? Looking at you, Harry. Think about that. He went after his family in the book and said basically that Camilla was leaking things. He accused Charles of being jealous of, I don't know what, attention that the others were getting and involving the press in the game there and just everything. And the palace of leaking stories, everything. He accused everybody of everything. But again, no accountability whatsoever for them. And then he went on to reveal personal, intimate details of conversations. I don't believe any of it, but let's just say it's true. Conversations he had with Charles at his grandfather's funeral. And then details, including details of William's, schmeckle, private area, whatever you want to call it. He went into details about that in the book. Yep, that's true. He actually did. I talk about that. So how are you going to reveal personal details like that and yet still demand respect and privacy when you've shown none? Okay, my next question. Was it worth it for your kids to have no connection to either side of the family? Was it? Would you still make that decision again? Do you care about your kids? I know it sounds like a horribly mean question, and I would never ask it to most people, but to them, I'm legitimately asking. Because it is weird to cut them off from both sides of the family. Okay, my next question. Why do you both go out of your way to make digs at Catherine? Why Catherine specifically? They do it to Charles as well. They did it to everybody, William. They call him Willie. But it seems specific to Catherine. Now, I have a guess on this one, too. Methinks that Maggie Poo is insecure, jealous, whatever word you want to fill in there. I'm sure she's that. So it makes her really shitty toward Catherine. So I just wonder why, and why, Harry, do you go along with it? You are, again, by not speaking out, you're complicit. So all those years of what seemed like a great relationship between Harry and Catherine. And I just wonder, why does he go along with it and continue to dig at her as well? If you don't believe me, pick any of her birthdays and Google what they were up to on that day. They usually do things to try to release, they release headlines to try to get attention for themselves. It's very bizarre. Okay, my next question, how long until the divorce? I don't know if they can answer that one, but have you already both hired attorneys? How far are we into this process? I feel like it's coming. And again, I said this on Patreon. I would never normally talk like that about a couple. I just don't feel bad in their case. I feel like, again, they have done this to everybody. They talk crap about everybody. They sell everybody out. So they're fair game as far as I'm concerned. So I ask you, how long to your divorce? Because I think it's going to get juicy when it happens. My next question, what's up with your financials? God, you guys, can you imagine? I would love to get a hold of their banking information. At first, I assumed they were just rolling in money and printing money from all these deals we heard about. I've now kind of changed my tune on that. I feel like that I do know that deals get inflated, especially for, media that they claim to hate, but they share all their information with. So I believe that those numbers are always inflated. I feel like things aren't taken in consideration, like, lawyers and agents and everything in between. They get cuts. So, I don't know if they made as much as the news wants us to think that they made, but they got to be hemorrhaging money. We've seen their spending. We've seen her ridiculous outfits. We've seen, the security. We've seen all of it. We found out that Charles gave him, now I can't remember the number, but it's been proven it was over $1 million, I believe, since he left. Even after he left, remember when he claimed that his father cut him off? It was proven because Charles shows where the Duchy of Cornwall stuff goes, and it was proven that he was giving money to Harold and Fraud. So I just, again, nothing's ever true, but I want to know about their financials. I want to know all the details. How does that work? Does Meghan have her own separate account? Is she squirreling money away? What's going on? Do you guys have any money left? That's my question. When I was looking into that, by the way, I read a thing. I don't know if it's true. It's probably just internet fodder, but I don't put anything past them. That Harry had gotten, I guess, a set of his grandfather's, I don't know if I can say the word on YouTube, weaponry, we'll say, old weaponry. And he sold it. And I ask you, is that a thing you've heard? Of course he wouldn't consider giving it back to the family or to a museum or wherever he wanted to give it to. Instead, he sold it. I just wonder, is that true? Because that would lend into the conversation of, oh, there actually are hemorrhaging money. Okay, my next question would be to Meghan. So why tell everybody that you never Googled Prince Harry? I mean, again, I have a guess for this. I assume it's to make herself look more relatable, but it had the opposite effect. Most people, I think, could see right through that and say, what are you talking about? Of course you did. We all have, we've all Googled significant, or whatever. We've all Googled people. We've all heard of the royal family. So who do you think you're fooling? And did it fool Harry? Does he actually believe that bullshit? I believe he does. I believe he's painfully stupid and he wanted to believe her, so he just did. Okay, my next question is, how did they actually meet? We've heard 4 different accounts of it, at least. And I wonder, what's the real truth? Yacht Girl? That Soho Club? What's the truth? How did you actually meet? I don't believe the dog filter story, so what is it? All right. My next question is, why keep telling people that your dad didn't pay for college? I had heard in interviews, and now I can't remember where I heard it. I believe actually Lady C brought it up in her book, that there's proof out there that her dad paid for school. So why keep peddling that story that she paid for it? Is it to make us feel sorry for her and to paint herself more as a victim? That's what I suspect. What's the real truth there? Okay. The next question is, why the lie about no help for mental health struggles? If Harry was so open about his mental health struggles, there's even video of the mental health campaign that he and William and Catherine had helped start up, and there's video of him discussing it openly. So with the story of Meghan, she claims that she was really struggling to the point of thinking, dark thoughts and alleging, taking herself out. Those are the thoughts that she's saying she was having. But then they say they went to somebody, an unnamed person. They like to do that. They don't like to name people. They just make up these people. Unnamed person, and that unnamed person said, "Oh no, you can't go forward this. How would it look for all of us?" Well, how would it look if I'm not believing anything that Meghan says, but let's say she's telling the truth. How would it look then if she took herself out? That story just doesn't make sense at all. So even if so, he's her husband. Wouldn't he step in and say, "This is ridiculous. We're going to get her help," and maybe recommend somebody? I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. To me, it's not the same, but it's similar to the curtsy story where she claims she didn't know how to curtsy. He's your husband. He's part of the family. Or at that point, he was her fiance, boyfriend, whatever he was. He's the part of the family. Wouldn't he teach you how to do a curtsy? None of this makes any sense. I don't know why I bother. I'm talking through gritted teeth. Okay, let's keep moving on here. I have more questions. Okay, my other question, lest we forget, she claims that the British press called her child the N-word. I need more information than this. You can't just throw out random claims like this with nothing to support your claim. Again, we're just supposed to believe it and not supposed to question it. So many people have come forward and said that would never happen. And if it did, there would have been, riots. Like, it would have been a huge deal. And you don't think that these two who have shown to be litigious wouldn't sue the pants? I don't know if you can sue for that, but you know what I mean? Take legal action against the supposed reporter who did this, or wouldn't they scream his or her name from the rooftops to try to get them fired? You know what I mean? Like, they're never shy to do stuff like that. So it just lends itself to show that they're full of crap and it never happened. Okay, my next question. If you stayed in the UK, you had said yourself, if you stayed in the UK, your children would have been hounded by the paparazzi. They gave some story about drop off every day. They would have been subjected to the paparazzi. But that's not the case. That's been proven to not be the case. It was explained with William and Catherine that they have a deal with the paparazzi that on the first day of school, they are allowed to be in a certain position. They're allowed to get certain photos. It's fine. It's like a deal that they worked out. I don't know all the logistics, but it was something along those lines. Hence why we get first day of school pictures sometimes of them. Okay. But after that, the kids are off limits. I'm taking this all in as I tell the story. I haven't really talked about this. But according to them, they seem to think that their children will be hounded every day at school. Well, if that's the case, then how come that doesn't happen to the Wales children, right? Do they think that their children are just, is it part of being a narcissist? Their children are even more special, so they would be subjected to even more? It doesn't make any sense. And again, I don't even know why I'm trying to make sense out of it, but, trying to think. I feel like there was one more, but that's my list of questions that I had, and it came up with so many interesting comments and questions and everything else. And so I thought, you know what? I really enjoyed making that video. So let's sit down with some of your questions and comments, talk through them, and talk about what's on everybody's mind. So this one's going to be a little bit longer, so tuck in and enjoy, and let's see what you guys had to say about all this. And if I didn't get to your question, then leave it below. I'll read those too. But it's just an interesting way to have conversations about, again, what everybody's thinking about these two. So let's jump right on in and see what we're talking about. Okay, again, no particular order right out of the gate. We got Pearly B51 saying, I would ask Skank why she always has her claws on Hank. It's real creepy to me. And then said some really nice things about the channel. Well, thank you so much, Pearly. That that is such a good point, and I think I breezed over in the first one. Let's take a second and talk about that. So I think a lot of us have said before, if it was just here and there, it's no big deal. I actually love PDA in terms of just hand-holding, that kind of thing. I think it's wonderful in the right context and the right setting, and again, not to the excessive degree. That's not what this seems to be. This isn't just playful pats, touches, even kisses. It's not that. It's controlling, and it's weird. And I would say, if it were the other way, I've said this before, if it were the other way and Harry would not let go of Meghan, with both arms holding on to her to the point where we've seen, remember that incident, she wouldn't let him shake hands with somebody without planting her feet and holding on tightly so he couldn't move. Weird stuff like that. If it was the other way around, we would all be screaming like, oh my God, is she okay? We need to get her away from him. That's, abuse, that sort of thing. But I think when it's this way around, people, the sugars like to say like, oh, there's nothing wrong with PDA. Well, you're right. There is nothing wrong with PDA. But again, that's not what this is. This seems to be crossing into control. And it's weird, right? Anne Bennett asks, how did Meghan think it was okay to take pictures of the Wales children to sell, but never allows anyone to have a picture of their children? Now, that is an interesting question, and I don't have an answer, and I'm going to put an allegedly by that. Allegedly, she got in trouble for taking pictures of the Wales children. I had heard the same thing, and I wondered the exact same thing. But it just, as you guys like to point out, she's a narcissist. There's so many things going on there, and so the rules don't seem to apply to her, but that's an excellent point, an excellent question. All right, Kathy Jo Patterson asks, 2 quick questions come to mind for me. 1, if they divorce, does Meghan get to keep Diana's jewelry? And 2, oh my gosh, my husband started talking to me, so I forgot. Jeez. No, Kathy, that is hilarious. I love this comment and this question so much. Kathy, I would say to put 2 hands on your husband and claw on tight and say, don't interrupt me when I'm having important thoughts. Give him the Meghan stare. That is such a good question. Same question. Does she get to keep Diana's jewelry? My first thought is there had to have been some sort of prenup when they got married, right? And does that jewelry officially belong to the crown? I don't know how that works. So I'm sure you guys can fill me in, but I think that's an excellent point, an excellent question. But I do feel like my instinct says she'll find a way to keep them. She can claim them, claim them as gifts or something like that. Or find some loophole and find a way to keep them. I think big picture too, let's say they did have a prenup, when they got married. And that was in the UK. They're in California now. So how does that work? Lots of questions there. Okay, Elizabeth III writes, ironic how Meghan Markle hates walking behind William, Catherine, Camilla, and even Charles, but is so snooty and loves being able to walk in front of Sophie and the York daughters. I thought I'd give you a little peek at smug while we talk through this one. Yeah, I've seen the video you're talking about. There is a video, I wish I had it with me. I found it once before, it's hard to find, but there's a video where Meghan is literally pushing chairs out of the way to try to hurry and get in front of Sophie. It's so juvenile and so childish. And my instinct is to say anybody that is confident in themselves or comfortable in their own skin, they don't act like that, right? You don't see William doing that. He has respect because he's got his shit together. I don't know. Very eloquent, I know. People like that, Catherine, you don't see her scrambling to do things like that. So when you see Meghan and Harry scramble in a situation like that, like, we gotta hurry, we gotta get in front of, whoever, Sophie, the York sisters, whoever, it really does show her inner workings, the narcissism, she's just full of herself, right? It's absolutely juvenile and childish and ridiculous and all the things, and I, for one, find it hilarious to watch. All right, Binks1113 writes, when the divorce happens with Harry and Meghan, who's turning on who first? Love to hear that answer. Ooh, Binks, excellent question. I just realized this is supposed to be Harry and Meghan's answers to everything, so I apologize, but they're not here, so I'm going to answer for them. Here's what I think. I think it's going to be Meghan that comes out swinging. I really do. I think he'll take the Eeyore woe is me approach, but I think she will really lay on thick the I'm a victim, her favorite go-to move, right? P.S. I think about that occupies so much space in my brain. How much the I'm a victim they both play, and how if obviously none of it's true, but let's just pretend for a second that everything they ever said was true, from the pretend fire in Archie's nursery to the near catastrophic car chase and the family was racist against, just all the bullshit that they peddle constantly. If that stuff was true, wouldn't they be the most unlucky couple in the whole world, truly? Like, would it just be one horrible event after another? Like, they had to disown her dad. They had to cut off his family, all that. Obviously, we don't believe any of it, but it is funny to think about it like that when you think about all these quote-unquote tragedies that they manufacture. You'd think, damn, these people never catch a break, right? Right. But truly, I think she'll be the more vocal one. I think she'll paint herself as a victim with her, favorite brush, painting herself as a victim. And she'll totally throw him under the bus. She let him write about the substance use in the book, which will be used against him. She's letting this stuff leak out about the hotel room he allegedly has. I think she knows he's painfully stupid, so she lets him basically hang himself with his own rope, would be my guess, so that way it can be used against him if and when they separate. And then I think she'll be the first one to claim, he didn't protect me from his family, he didn't help me. And then when people were saying these awful things about me, bleh, again, whiny Dracula, when people were saying these awful things about me, he didn't protect me, all the bullshit. I'm sure it's coming. All right, the next one is, I hope I say your name right, is it Chiara? I hope that's right. Writes, strange how she idolizes Diana, but she doesn't try to copy how she, meaning Diana, tried to make her children's lives fun. When have they taken them somewhere interesting other than an empty beach? That is such a good point and such an interesting thing that I didn't even realize. I didn't even put it together. I do think it's odd how much they go out of the way to make the children into mysteries. Now, I had an excellent comment somewhere in here, thank you to whoever wrote this, that it's because they hide them because they know that when they do bring them out, they'll make more money. It's like building up the suspense. But regardless, that's such a great point and such an interesting one. And yeah, we saw Diana with the boys quite a bit, out taking them skiing and doing things with them. And Harry claims that he never got to go on bike rides, but we see him out for bike rides, just normal things you do with your children. And we just don't see that with Hank and Skank, and we don't see that with the kids. And the whole thing is so weird, right? The whole mystery is so weird. Did they just keep him locked up in that Montecito, whatever? I don't even want to call it a mansion, just empty shell. I don't know. What is that? All right. So Sunshine writes, why did you accept the award for fighting racism in the royal family if it was unconscious bias? Ding, ding, ding. Exactly. Thank you, Sunshine. Thank you for articulating exactly what bothers me too. They throw around these words that have no meaning. They lose all meaning when they lie about stuff. And then again, just expect us to believe it, buy it, not question it. And then they give themselves awards for it. The whole thing. Honestly, I say this a lot too. It keeps me riveted. It really does. It's fascinating. I've just never seen people like this. I've been around. I have narcissists. I have a narcissist in my life. It's not Jay. It's not me. But so I think that's what keeps me fascinating. It's just, I think we all have somebody in our life that lies. I've never seen anybody lie like these two do. And to the whole world on easily provable things, but that's truly what keeps me fascinated and riveted. And I think you bring up such an interesting question. It's just another thing that makes you scratch your head and go, what? Why? What? This makes no sense. Okay, the next one's by Angela Reed, and she asks, question to Meghan Markle, is constipation the reason you make odd facial expressions and strange leg poses in all your photos? Especially all those weird squatting in heels photos. Not just when you're pregnant. That is such a great comment, such a great question. Yeah, what is that? My assumption is it's a continuous look at me situation. And I think she is one of those, any press is good press. So if it means making crazy faces or squatting down like you're, excuse my French, about to take a dump, like, get a picture of it. It's going to have people talking. I mean, and look, we're talking about it, so there's that. But I truly don't understand it either. I kind of get obsessed with the fashion stuff. I really wonder now if she doesn't choose horrible things to get the attention. But then I think that takes a level of self-awareness that I don't believe she possesses. But yeah, great question. All right, Vic asks, how are you going to feel when Archie pulls a spare on you? Guess Harry will cry that he's the victim of elder abuse. Yeah, same question. What happens when they get to finally speak up? If there is a they, I don't know. But you know what I mean? Like, what happens when they write talking about the kids, when they write their memoir? What happens when they ask the question, why did you take me away from my cousins and my grandfathers, both of them, and my family? What's up with that? That sort of thing. I suspect, again, that they will just make themselves the victims and, yeah, that's a really good question. Miss Dude and Kids writes, she never Googled Harry, she Googled William. Oh my God, how did I not think of this? You're a genius. Miss Dude and Kids, I give you an award for such an interesting point. Yeah, I believe that 100%. And let's take it a step further and say she also Googled Diana, because we know she had a Diana obsession according to everything we've read. But wow, that is brilliant. I wish I had thought of it myself. She didn't Google Harry. So she finally told the truth on some. She didn't Google Harry. She Googled William. That's excellent. Jean H. asks, my question is for Meghan. How could she live in Canada for 7 years and know nothing about the royal family? The Queen's picture is on our money. There's a picture of her in every federal building. We celebrate a long weekend in May called Victoria Day, named after Queen Victoria. Members of the royal family visit Canada, and I can go on and on. What a liar. Jean, thank you for this. It is exactly this kind of stuff that makes her the least credible human being I've ever seen, and that's saying something. Yeah, that you bring up such a good point. And I'll take it a step further and remind everybody she claims to have studied, what was it, international relations, something like that. So double that question, right? How could you live in Canada all that time and not know? And then how could you study international, whatever it was, and not know? It makes less than no sense. Suzanne asks, question for Harry and Meghan. Every time the whales mark a birthday, anniversary, etc., you post something to compete and try to take away their thunder. Why is it you don't post any pictures of your kids to compete with the gorgeous pictures of the whales' children? And then Suzanne writes, I think I know the answer to this one as well. Suzanne, that is such a good question, well thought out, and such a good point, and something I bring up often. They really are shitbags, right? They try to go out of their way to steal any kind of attention for themselves, especially, it seems, around Catherine. Again, wonder who's behind that one. Yeah, same question. I wish I had an answer. It just leads to about 100 more questions. It truly doesn't make sense. And I don't know why I'm trying to make it make sense, but I am. Because these are the things that I'm just like, what are we doing here? Why lie about everything? I don't know why I'm even trying, but excellent point, excellent question. And why is it that you're so, I'm answering myself. They seem so threatened by William and Catherine especially that any good thing she tries to do, any good press she gets, any birthday she's celebrating, any anniversary, anything, they try to make it about themselves. Now, what's funny about that is they usually fail spectacularly, but it is wild to watch, and it's ridiculous, and it's actually kind of bled over into Charles, things that Charles have done when he's done tours recently, or gone to other places. It seems that's Harold and Fraud's favorite time to release news or do something to get themselves in the news. And it's interesting to watch. So Ruth brings up an excellent point as well. She wants to ask Harry about, how do you think Diana would react if she saw how he was treating William? Does he think she'd be happy that he throws everyone who he claims to love, who loves him, and just at the family under the bus? How do you think she'd react? I think this is just such a great question, and a lot of you had very similar questions. And I get so frustrated because Harry and Meghan love to speak for Diana, and I don't think that's fair because obviously she can't speak for herself. And you don't see William acting like that. He went through the same tragedy as Harry, and he doesn't use that as an excuse or a hall pass or get out of jail free, whatever you want to call it. He just goes on about his life. And I think she'd be horrified, mortified. I don't know what the word is. I think she'd be very disappointed. But again, I don't like it when they speak for Diana, so I'm not even going to try to understand. But I just gotta figure she'd be, she loved those boys so much. I can say that it was clear in the pictures and when you saw her with them, but I just can't imagine she'd be thrilled about this situation. Now, Eva asks a very interesting question that I believe will probably open up a lot of comments about this one. Okay. What is Meghan blackmailing the royal family with? That's her burning question. Eva, very interesting question. Here's my honest answer on this. I understand why people would see it this way, because they did protect her so much. And even, it sounds like, allegedly, according to the books we've read, when she was being a nightmare behind the scenes, and they both were, when they were being nightmares behind the scenes, the palace covered it up and helped protect them. And now we see they're, not putting out the bullying reports, that sort of thing. So it could be argued that they really protected Harry and Meghan. But I honestly don't think that she is blackmailing them. I actually think she doesn't matter enough to them. I don't think they would have shared any real information with her that she could blackmail them with. That's my true thought. I think that it was more out of love for Harry that they were, covering things up and protecting them. And I truly think that's why we're seeing this, quote, new side of Harry. It probably was there to some degree all along. I do think they bring out the absolute worst in each other. But I think that the palace helped hide that as well. Again, out of maybe love for Harry, maybe it was love for William, that they're like, well, we're not going to let Harry suffer because he's William. I don't pick what you think the answer is, but regardless, I don't think she's blackmailing them. I don't think she has any actual dirt on them because I don't think she matters. I don't. All right. Ashley makes such a good point here. Ashley says, I think the naming of Lilibet was to ensure that she has a connection to the Queen and the royal family for her whole life. Same with the titles. Odd for two people who claim to hate the institution so much. Ashley, you always make the best points, and you didn't fail me here. You did great. I totally agree. I think you're spot on. That's exactly what it is. I was looking for more meaning than that when I was trying to go over the answer, but I think you so nailed it. That's exactly, I think you're spot on. I think it's about the connection, and just to remind people that even if for some reason they lost their titles, that name is it's unique, and so it's tied to the Queen, and they want people to remember that. So I think you found the answer. Ding, ding, ding. Christine asks, why do you seem so satisfied with all the mess you have caused? Christine, that is such a great question. I would like to know the answer to that too. I don't even have a guess on this one. Narcissists, I guess, like to cause chaos. I'm not really sure. I'm really not. But I'd like to know the answer to this one too, and I think that's an excellent question. Why do they both seem so satisfied with themselves over this? Although Harry just seems miserable. Why is she so smug about it? Only guess is that because she is a raging narcissist, she thinks that she's always right and she's done the right thing and she's the best and the greatest and bleh, again, whiny Dracula. Bleh. But I suspect it has something to do with that. That's why she always looks smug. And it's all about the look at me of it all. And so it's like a win-win for her. It's very bizarre, right? Dee Dee Cupcake, I love your name, asks, I would ask how Meghan really feels that Catherine is wearing Diana's engagement ring that would have been hers. Ooh, Dee Dee. Ding, ding, ding. Excellent point. Excellent question. Excellent. All of it. I love it. I know you know, if you're watching this, what we're talking about. But if you don't, that is what was flying around. I'm going to get the details wrong, but supposedly it was that Harold was going to have Diana's engagement ring, but then when William got serious with Catherine, they did a swap where William got that and Harry got her watch. So something along those lines. You can correct me in the comments, but yeah. Oh God, that's so good. Oh, Dee Dee. Ooh. Well, I got chills on that one. That's such a good point. I love it. I hope it drives her even more crazy than everything else. And I suspect that that's part of not even hidden, the outward vitriol toward Catherine. So, yeah, I hope it bugs the piss out of her. And I gotta say, I love that ring so much, and Catherine wears it beautifully. All right, Robin writes, glad I'm not the only person who is bothered by the mental health stuff. Like, why call your therapist after getting into a shoving match with your brother, but not when your pregnant wife tells you she's having dark thoughts? Robin, such a good point. Yeah, exactly. That's the same thing I was saying too. You nailed it. It doesn't make any sense. And that shoving match, I mean, how ridiculous and petty can you be? Even if it happened, why is old Sperry writing every detail down in his book? He really is just a real jackass, right? But let's say it happened. I don't believe anything in his book, but let's say it happened. Like, to your point, yeah, are you just gonna run off and call your therapist about it? But okay, let's say that happened. Even if you do, okay, great. And I'm not mocking. I think mental health is so important, and I mean, Lord knows I've seen some, so call your therapist. It's great. But I'm saying, like, why, to your point, why was that your go-to move in that situation? Two adults get pissed at each other, whatever, get into a shoving match, and that's that. Call your therapist over that, but don't offer to do it or think to do it or refuse to do it, whatever stance you want to take, for your wife who claims that she's dealing with these dark thoughts that coincidentally are the same things that Diana dealt with. Interesting, right? But let's say, again, let's just play devil's advocate. Let's say it's true. She truly was struggling and having these thoughts. Then why is that your go-to when you argue with your brother, but not when your wife is really struggling? What is that about? Okay, B Jamo asks, here are my questions if they're answered truthfully. That's the game. We're pretending like they are, right? Why did you say that Catherine and William were welcoming in the engagement interview, but on Oprah you claimed the opposite? They also ask, why did you lie about being financially cut off? What was the point of that? Do you enjoy being victims? Ding, ding, ding. I think you hit the nail on the head for all of this, actually. They do enjoy being victims. I think, and I would say that's probably equal with Harry and Meghan, although he does seem to take on her victim mentality, so maybe it is mostly her. I'm not sure, but he sure doesn't mind playing victim as well. See, spare. Same question on the changing your story of it all. They seem to like to do that a lot. They will blatantly tell us one thing and then contradict themselves. If you don't believe me, I've made videos on it, several, where they openly say one thing and then you catch them saying a complete opposite thing. There's no truth to anything they say. It's so interesting to watch, right? It's a psychological study like I've never seen. But I just really feel like when I go back and watch that engagement interview, she's on her best behavior. Both of them are. He's pretending not to be an angry, SOB, and she's pretending not to be all the horrible things we've learned about her with the lies and the victimhood and everything else. And so we're not fully getting, she's just, again, I keep saying she's on her best behavior. We don't get the full Meghan. So she's just saying whatever about everybody. And maybe that is closer to the truth, if there is a truth with these two. But, that everybody was nice and welcoming. She said his family was great. And then, of course, her story ends up changing. But yeah, you bring up excellent points. All right, Lucy Fenwick asks, I'd love to know why she didn't invite any of her black or white family to the wedding. Obviously, she's ashamed of her family, but she must have known how she would look because of it. Lucy, this question keeps me up at night sometimes. I know it's so silly, but no, seriously, this occupies a lot of space in my brain. I suspect, as many of you have mentioned, they would have blown up her stories. Nothing she told anybody, it sounds like, was even kind of remotely true. And so she couldn't have that at her wedding. This is just my opinion, my theory. She provides a nice financial life for Doria. So Doria to just say whatever Meghan tells her to say. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship there. She doesn't have the same deal with the Markles or any of her family. So that's why it was so empty. But it strikes me so odd how she filled up her pews with celebrities. You saw Doria standing all by herself there, and then it was empty, and then celebrities. And that, I would say, that pretty much describes Meghan, right? Empty, but some celebrities hanging around. I don't know. But you would think the same thing, or I would think the same thing, the optics of that are not right. And you'd think that she'd think about that, but she really doesn't. I think she thinks we'll just buy it hook, line, and sinker, just take it all at face value, oh, look at her, she's important, she has celebrity friends, instead of the vapid shallowness that screams at the rest of us. To her, it's like, I'm important, look at me. So Janice asks, my question is, when you have your Duchess title removed, will you disappear? It's going to happen. Oh, Janice. Oh, I love it. I hope so. We've all heard the rumblings, right? I thought it was just a matter of King Charles waving his scepter. I don't know, whatever it is. But you guys have so nicely taken the time to explain to me, no, Parliament has to be involved. It's a whole government thing. Lady C assures us all that it is in the works. I tend to like what Lady C has to say, so I'm going to trust her. I'm going to take her for her word there and hope that that's the case. But yeah, I don't think she'll go away. I feel like if they weren't divorced already, when we hear the announcement on that, the divorce will be following. Because seriously, what else could she use from the ginger sock puppet? Now, I do have a lot of you in the comments making excellent points about, well, they might not divorce because they actually need each other to stay relevant. And I totally get what you're saying, but I don't know. I think he's gonna maybe snap out of it and kick her to the curb. I'm not sure. And then Sarah Jones writes, in my opinion, Harry and Meghan's narrative is aimed at an audience who likes to be outraged and doesn't fact check. With the questions, I wonder about Meghan's relationship with Prince Andrew. Also, I don't understand why, for someone who supposedly hates her feet, she shows him off so much. Sarah, so good. Let's talk about your statement first. So, Harry and Meghan's narrative is aimed at an audience who likes to be outraged and doesn't like to fact check. Oh, that's it. You so perfectly summed it up. Here's their outraged faces so you can enjoy. He just looks like sniveling or something, and she looks pissed. It is funny to me how she can't hide it in pictures. I mean, she just ends up looking like this. All right. Yes, I think you are exactly right. I think I'm not trying to go tinfoil hat here, but I do think a lot of the sugars just like to believe whatever's fed to them, and whatever the news decides to print that day is exactly what's believed. And as we know, just in general, regardless of what side you're on, the news just likes to be sensational. So, I mean, we talk about it here. We talk about some of the sensational headlines, but so anything that gets clicks is what they're talking about. And these two do get clicks. And the more outrageous, the more clicky, right? So, I mean, it's stuff we know, but I get the feeling, we've talked about this at length on Patreon because I share what the comments from sugars, because I get a lot of them. And so I keep them and I share them on Patreon, and we go into it, and a lot of people over there seem to think that the sugars are like 4 teenagers that are just answering all the, writing comments, because the way they write, you guys, it's absolutely hilarious and ridiculous, and definitely has a teenage melodramatic tone. But yes, I tend to think you're right. I think it's all about sensationalism, clicky headlines, and people just believe it. They don't do their homework. You're right. And it still astonishes me because I actually understand it with some things or some people where you just don't know much. You take, what's being reported at face value. It's fine. With these two, there have been so many people like myself and you guys are exposing the lies. It's just everywhere. There's no hiding from it. So that kind of baffles me a little bit, how you can still believe people who've been proven liars more often than not. I don't understand. And as for your question, so remember the rules of the game. If we ask them these questions, they have to answer truthfully. And yeah, I want to know the same thing. What was Meghan's deal with Prince Andrew? I need to know more information there. What's the history? Is the yacht thing true? I mean, we've all heard it, but is it? Did you know Prince Andrew? How well? How did you know Prince Andrew? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. What are we talking about here? I want to know that too. And also, ew. All right. And then Sharon points out every time Catherine does something, Meghan Markle has to come and try to do better. You know what? Yes, you're right. We talked about earlier how especially they like to do stuff around Catherine's birthday. It's so childish. I've just never seen adults act like this, but you're right. And you know what's funny? You know what pops in my head as soon as I read this? I'll show you. This moment right here, how could we forget? Catherine wore the most beautiful gold dress. She looked, I've just never seen anything like it. I was speechless and took my breath away, right? I could, in my wildest dreams and all the money in the world, I could not look like this. My God, gorgeous, gorgeous. I love this dress so much. Okay. So she wore this in September of 2021, right? It was the James Bond No Time to Die premiere. Hello, Daniel Craig. How you doing? Don't tell Jay. Anyway, so she wore this beautiful dress and had everybody talking about it. So what did Maggie Poo do? 2 months later, November 2021, Meghan thinks she's going to have a similar, moment. And it's failed spectacularly. You guys, I have talked about this dress, but I feel like I need to spend a few more minutes because just go on this journey with me. Who in the world would see this dress and go, oh yeah, that's what I want. I want my spray tan really showing off. I want my boobs pulled far apart. And I want the darts to be all wrong to make it look like my nips point down. That's what I want. Oh, and you know what else? I really want to add a whole bunch of extra fabric around my midsection. just pile it on to make me look like I've, really enjoyed Thanksgiving. I'm not body shaming Meghan. I'm really not. I'm actually talking about myself here. Like, this is the worst design I've ever seen. And I'm not even going to blame the dress designer, Carolina Herrera, because I've had so many of you say that you've seen other mock-ups of this dress. It wasn't supposed to look like this, but that perhaps Meghan had it changed or whatever. This is the dress they're dressing her in. That's a lot of dress. In the Netflix special where she has all those people around her. But I'm thinking, all those people around you, and nobody said, hey, girl, the back isn't fitting quite right. It's not good. You know what I mean? It just tells me she pisses off everybody around her or doesn't listen to anybody around her, and nobody will tell her the truth. But, oh, no, not good. So when you said that about, Meghan trying to upstage Catherine or however you worded it, I think of this moment right here where she might try, but she's going to fail spectacularly. My God, does she not have a mirror? And then Charlotte, hi Charlotte. Charlotte asks, hi from France. Bonjour, Charlotte. Jen, what about the profit company called Travelist? Do you really think they're going to take our data and dictate how we travel? What about the little money you declared while acting with huge companies? Charlotte, first of all, hi, I love your comments. You always write the nicest things. Thank you. But, yeah, excellent point, excellent question. I talked about this company in a video recently, and I wish I could remember which one. I'm racking my brain. It was one of those, I believe, having to do with Quora, where people ask questions and, we talk about just what the internet's talking about. But they brought up this Travelist company. I honestly had never heard of it. You guys filled me in. And there's all kinds of shady allegations circling this that I hadn't even heard about. But I'm hesitating because I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. It had to do with, I might have the details wrong, but it's something to do with like crowdfunding a bunch of money and then allegedly Harold just kind of kept it, something like that, or raising a bunch of capital and then keeping it, something like that, that was meant to go toward this company or, God, I don't know. I really don't know enough about this. I need to do my homework on this, so give me time to look into it. But I have heard similar. Now, what I didn't realize is that the point of it? I didn't even get into that. Like they're trying to collect data so they can make decisions on our travel. What in the world? What in the world? I'm sorry. You know what my first thought on this was? Oh, okay. So Harry got very feeling good on substances and thought, yeah, this is a great idea. Let's do that. It sounds like a terrible idea. It sounds like a way just to mine for people's data and try to sell it, if you ask me. And then Christine asks, do you take notes every time you lie in front of international audiences, Meghan? It would be easier for subsequent events. I think about this a lot too. They don't seem to, right? Because they contradict themselves constantly. And you know what else popped into my head when I read this? Did you know that allegedly with the stupid podcast, I just want to call it Archwell, but I know that's not it. It doesn't matter. The podcast that they did, she had a fact checker for that. And I got to give credit to Megyn Kelly here because Megyn Kelly points out it's your own stories. You hired a fact checker to fact check your own stories. Like that guy or girl is going to stay really busy because nothing they ever say is true. It never checks out. But that is odd, right? That to me, that just tells me everything I need to know. It'd be like me hiring a fact checker for this channel because I can't keep my stories straight. How could anybody keep up with their lies? How could anybody keep their story straight? They can't keep their story straight. So the fact that they hired a fact checker, that just, it's like a warm hug. I don't know. It just makes me laugh. It sticks with me. It's really funny to me. And then I just had an image in my head of what if she's up giving one of her dumbass speeches where she says a million words of nothing. What if the fact checker comes running up? No, Meghan, you're telling a different story this time. Like that person would never sleep. All right. And then Wendy brings up Lilibet was a definite shot across the Queen's bows, showing that nothing is sacred, including the special name given to the Queen. She has no boundaries and does not respect rules or authority. She's doing this all the time. Great video. Thank you so much, Wendy. I really appreciate that. And yes, that's it. We had a big conversation in the last episode about Lilibet and what's the deal with that, as well as Archie's names and why they weaponize their children's names, that sort of thing. And so, Wendy, you bring up a great point. Everything is just an opportunity to slap somebody else down, which is kind of sick if you think about it, right? If that is the case, if they're using the names to try to hurt somebody, that's pretty disgusting. They do a lot of disgusting things, but I'd say even for them, that's pretty awful. Here's my real thoughts on this one. I think Harry is so painfully stupid and delusional that he thinks it would be totally fine. He thinks he, has this wonderful relationship with the Queen. Like, he didn't do anything to cause her harm in her, final years. But I think Meghan is malicious. I think she does these things on purpose. She knows exactly what she's doing. She's way smarter than Harry, but also way more scheming than Harry. So she plotted and planned this out. I think that had to be the kid's name. If you believe there's kids, that had to be the name. Because why not use that opportunity instead of a fresh, happy start with a happy family? Why not use it to try to hurt somebody else, right? Ugh, these two are the worst. Jane brings up one of my favorite questions. Jane, you're a genius. She writes, how much does a loaf of bread cost? I started thinking about that answer and how each of them would answer it. I would say Harry says, what is bread? Is that the thing that muffins are made out of? Like, he's just so stupid. I don't think he'd be able to find bread in the grocery store. Meghan, however, would be like, I only buy Hermes bread. I only buy Givenchy bread. Oh, God, you guys. I only buy bread made out of mushrooms. I say that because of that stupid coffee with the mushroom stuff. No offense if you like mushroom coffee. I just think that sounds completely disgusting. But yeah, I don't think any of them. I don't think either of them would have a clue. I don't think they are doing the weekly shop. All right, and then I'm never gonna be able to say your name. Is it Magyar? I hope that's right. Magyar H asks, my question would be, why do you spend so much on clothes? Well, now, how much time you got? Let's talk about this. All right. So I think there's so many things going on with this. I think about this a lot too. She spends so much on clothes. I've talked about it at length. I've made videos about it. Go back and watch them. It's fascinating. It's not just a little bit more than everybody else. It's like all other European royals combined. She spent more than. It's eye-opening to see. But I think about that too. I think a lot of it has to do with the shallowness of it all, the vapidness, something to fill her hollow vessel. I'm not sure. That's the first thought that came to mind. But then I started thinking, it's like she thinks that by putting all these fancy brands on herself, we'll automatically see her as fancy. The part that blows my mind is how anybody could spend so much on clothes and just things, material things, and still look so crazy. I don't understand that. Now, this is where I give you guys all the credit in the world, because you pointed out what you think is happening is, Charles was bankrolling a lot of it. And so what she would do is buy these expensive pieces, not have them tailored or altered or whatever to fit her correctly. That's why she always looked a mess. But then would resell them, or however you do that, where you get cash back, basically. I'm thinking, was she on the real, something like that? She had her people selling them. I don't know. But I suspect you might be on the right track there. I'm really not sure. I think about that one a lot too. But I just go back to I think she thinks the labels elevate her in a way. I also think it has to do with the look at me of it all, right? It's a way to get people to talk about her, to look at her, to notice her. She thinks by wearing these expensive outfits, it's just another way to keep herself in the headlines as well. So I think there's a lot of factors at play there. But I don't understand, though, the horrible fit of every single outfit. All I can go back to on that is to think she had access to all the people that could help tailor things, fix things, build things, make things, whatever it is. But if you think you know better than all of them and you won't take their advice, then you end up looking like Meghan. I'm not sure. P.S. asks, why did you wear that ugly green dress and the helmet hat, which was not even appropriate color for Commonwealth Day service? I gotta give HG Tudor, I love his channel, a shout out here because he named it Kermit Goes to Church, and that's all I can think of. It's not easy being green. You guys, this outfit is one of the worst, and that's saying something because she wears a lot of terrible things. Don't worry, I have more pictures coming, but I think about this too. I had actually posted, I believe, to the Patreon group. I may have even asked you guys. I thought I really wanted to do a video, and it's still on the back burner, about the times where Meghan made a statement with her clothing. And I don't mean like, yikes, because that is a statement she often makes with her clothing. I mean like this, like you say, it's Commonwealth service. So you would traditionally wear like the blues, the reds, stuff like that. But nope, she wore green. So the other example that pops into my head as I show you this awful dress, you guys, the bra. What the hell is with her foundation garments? Get a bra, not a strapless bra, a real bra that holds them up and doesn't look like this under clothes. There's a little tip. Anyway, do you not own a mirror? Okay, so I lost my train of thought. The statements with clothing. Okay, so the thing that pops into my head with that, my God, this picture. The thing that pops in my head with that is, do you remember, I believe, oh gosh, which baby was it? Was it baby Louis? It may have been Charlotte. One of the baby's christenings. I guess the women were asked to wear shades of cream, I believe, and Meghan wore olive. So if I can cut through the BS like, I like to do, I'm going to say Meghan likes to use her clothes to say F you. Meghan likes to use everything to say F you. She still sees herself as this victim, with all these grievances. So she's going to use clothes to give the royal family a middle finger. It really makes no sense. I think she's a spoiled, classless, tacky brat, and she's making a statement with her clothes, thinking, look how clever I am. Nobody's going to get what I'm doing here. It's like, no, we all see through you, and we think you're ridiculous. Just in Case asks, how old are you? No, really. I love the way you worded that very much. Yeah, same question. I've heard so many conflicting reports. My guess is mid-40s, but who knows? They don't tell the truth on anything. She never, ever does. My further follow-up question is, does Harry know her real age? I doubt it. I really do. It does strike me funny that I do think she's older than she's pretending to be. But I also think she acts like a child. I mean, look at this picture here. Like a pouty preteen here with her toilet paper hat. Just in Case also asks, have you ever had a proper bra fitting? Oh my God, I didn't read these ahead of time. I mean, I'd read them a couple days ago, but I didn't know what order. I just started screenshotting. So when I talked about the bra a few minutes ago, I didn't know this was coming up. But ding, 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 same question. See picture for details. What is happening? Why does she wear strapless bras with everything? She sure does love a boat neck. So I suspect it has something to do with that. Like maybe in this ridiculous outfit, it might have shown straps. But since when does she care about that? Get a proper bra. Get a fitting. Again, she had access to everybody. There's got to be royal undergarment people, I don't know, people that handle that sort of thing. Talk to them. What is this? This is horrible, you guys. I cannot. And the boat neck thing, I've said it before. I actually like boat necks. I do, on certain people. I think if you're broad-shouldered, and again, I can't stand Meghan Markle, but I'm really not trying to body shame her. Whatever, she can't help how she's built. But know how to dress for your body. I think if you're broad-shouldered, maybe boat neck isn't the way to go, but she sure as shit loves them with these stupid bras underneath, and I don't understand why. And again, mirror. Do you not look in the mirror? Do you not see it? Does she just say, mirror, mirror, I'm the greatest, and then punch it and walk out the door? I don't know. Julia asks, why are there no birth records? Where was your mom for 10 years? And not my business, but strange that you don't give your dad no mind. Sorry, that you give your dad no mind. Yeah, same. The birth stuff, I didn't, like, when I first took on this Harry and Meghan stuff, I didn't actually like to go into the birth stuff because I just didn't know enough about it, and it just seemed unnecessarily cruel. You know, I never want to cross into unnecessarily cruel, and I was afraid I was. But it's like the more shady they are about this stuff, the more lies they tell, the more mystery, whatever that they want to spin, the more I am fascinated by it. And I think they know that. I think they do that shit on purpose. But it is weird, right? The whole birth thing and just the differences, how they followed no royal protocol. They didn't have the same witness situation that are typically done. The whole thing's so bizarre. I don't have an answer for that, but I wish I did. I want to ask him that question too. What the hell is going on there? If it's a surrogate, just come clean. I know they never would, but I'm just saying, like, come clean about it. Just tell us, because you're acting nuts. It's like they do these things, they act nuts, and then they want us to talk about them, but only on their terms. They don't want us to talk about the nutty behavior. Ruth Ellen brings up such a good question. I love where you're going with this. I think this is an excellent question. It says, I'd ask her, how did you ever think belittling everybody was a path to achieving your hopes and dreams? Same question. Did she think that the stories just wouldn't get out? Is that what it is? Or that she could outsmart everybody? That's what I suspect. But yeah, if you have a history of treating people terribly, how do you think that's not going to come around and bite you in the ass? I guess I think the kind of person that could treat people terribly just wouldn't think like that. But I love your question so much. I don't even know how to tackle that one, because I don't think a sane and logical person could answer that question. That's disgusting behavior. And again, we've seen stories of it in every book we've read. You know, people have come forward with stories of it. I just want them to release those bullying reports so we can really talk about it. But yeah, that's an excellent question. Excellent point. And then Sharon points out her eyes are so dead, almost eerie, in fact. Gives me the chills. Ooh, me too, Sharon. Look at this. This picture is nightmare fuel. It haunts my soul. It scares me, and I got the chills. But seriously, I don't even know how you make your eyes do that. I don't understand it at all. But yeah, there's a good example of it. Well, guys, I have talked for nearly an hour, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up on this scary, scary dead-eyed, or I call it dead shark stare. Whew, scary. Anyway, as always, thank you so much. If you stayed with me to the end, let me know in the comments. I really appreciate you watching. I do. If you want more long ones like this, let me know. I actually had a ton of fun making this one. It seemed to fly by. I love reading your comments. I love responding to your comments, so I'm happy to keep this going. If you guys want to, let me know. But as always, thanks so much for watching and sticking with me. I hope you have the best day. If you have something you want to see turned into a video, well, leave me that suggestion below as well. I welcome it. And yeah, if you want to further support, definitely check out my merch. I got Recollections May Vary. Make it make sense. In a world of Meghan's being Catherine, got that. And what else? Check out Patreon. We're doing so many deep dives over there. We're having so much fun taking a look at all the things. So check that out. And I hope you have the best day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.